Hey, it's the Chief, bonding with board games, coming to you with Gladiator Quest for the Rudis. Gladiator game plays from 1 to 8. Probably wouldn't play up to 8, but you could. Maybe after you're practiced, it wouldn't be that big a deal. And it handles 12 and up, and I'm telling you, my 9-year-old son played it and loved it. His attention span waned. His attention span waned. See, it took me a while to find that. It waned toward the end, but he actually, while playing, had to go get his Nerf sword and like this fake shield thing that he'd made like a year ago. And then he wanted to reenact each of the card plays. So, there's no dice. It is a gladiator combat game. Comes with, the Rotarius, the net and the trident guy, and then the heavy, and I'm not going to remember all their names. The guy with super heavy armor, and then there's a guy with like medium armor, and another guy with a little bit less armor, and then there's some rules for like guys with 2 swords. I can't remember their names. So, a lot of stuff packed into this box. Let me show you primarily cards, and then review. All right, I've got everything laid out. Let me kind of move my tripod around a little bit so you can get a better idea of the board. All right, and you can see this is going to be the action deck, how thick these cards are. They're putting the shadow down on the board here. I'm going to get into some of these these are the common attack and defense cards, and I'm going to show you the 4 basic gladiators. I'll go tighter in on this when you get it. The rule book. There is some cool stuff up here. We have some fake cards that can do some cool little twists, break the rules, change things around. You've got some actual heroes like Spartacus is in there. I am Spartacus. And then you've got what I didn't know, and I forget how to call it. It's something Summa Rudis, I think. It's like a referee. There was a referee that actually would be out here, much like, boxing or MMA stuff today. There was a ref out there. And then we got the box. So let me come down, and first things first, let's just look at this here. I showed this when I did the unboxing. There is a little bit of formatting issues. I hate seeing all this white space. And then same thing here, but then it's kind of fixed over here. The other thing is see how nicely they show the card, and I'll go in and show that's the same as these down here. When they get into an explanation of actual gameplay, and I'll talk a little bit about this in my wrap up, I would have liked to seen them visibly show these cards and like highlight the area they're talking about. Every once in a while, the rules in here will say something like, don't look at the attack card when you flip the card, but then do look at the attack card. Well, what they're doing is they're saying don't look at the attack area here, and that's not a direct quote, but they're saying don't look at this, look at, and I won't be able to find a picture of the card now, basically look at this, but there's one that says attack. I'll show you. It would be like, hey, refer to this, which is the attack card. So, some rules could have been cleaned up. I wish there were some things in terms of, instead of like this glossary being here, this table of contents, I actually wish they would have put this stuff on the back. As it says, useful tables and diagrams, throw those right here, baby. Throw them on the back. I can look on the inside for this, but I want something that I don't have to open up, I can just lay out. Because if you're not going to put it over here, then I want you to throw this kind of stuff maybe up here. Instead of this little card art, throw one of those up there and show me what those look like. I know you don't want to necessarily throw all your tables on here and you've got a cool thing, but we're already doing some odd stuff here. I would have preferred maybe this was reduced down and put in there, because this is showing, your flanks and what bonuses you're going to get, and that would have been helpful. It doesn't come up all the time, but it's enough here that they're going to put it in for useful. Hey, make it real useful, put it on the board, or at least put it on the back. What I will say is, now that I've gone through, because in my unboxing, I said, wow, a lot of text, I was a little intimidated. I can tell you that this half of the book is all you need to do to play the rules or to play the game with the rules. And then the other half gets into all these specials like 2-on-1, 3-on-1. I haven't done any of that. There's a ton on solo. All right, there's just tons of stuff on solo things, and there's all these little chits for animals and mini campaigns and all this stuff. I don't even think I saw the animal stuff in here unless it's in one of these charts. So I don't know if there's expansions coming out on that or what. I got enough to play. I did not go play the solo version. I ran myself through it playing both characters, and then I played with some other people, including my 9-year-old son, just to see how well it played. These charts are all for solo things. These are like NPC, what will they do in this situation kind of thing. So this was a little intimidating at first. No. If you're playing solo, you'll be needing those. And then they've just got, again, some stuff on questions and then some charts. And the designer, James Trunzo, sent out some extra things. You can create your own, like Rudis, your training house, all kinds of stuff's wrapped in there. So there's a ton of stuff in here, but you only need about half of it to play the game. Don't let that scare you. All right, let me show you the counters. I want to give you visible representation here. I'm going to zoom in so I'm not shaking all over. All right, here's the basic guys. You're going to have cards and rules, a few more rules that'll handle even some other guys, but these are your basic gladiators. And even these chits are nice because they come in like different, I want to say sculpts. I know they're not minis, but different art. And I believe there's even 4 different arts. I can't remember. When I was throwing these out, I just grabbed the ones that were here. But I really like this style. Now, here's one thing I don't like. So you're looking at the kneeling portion. Well, I know it's extra money, but here's the standing portion, and they're the same. I got to be honest with you, I know it's extra money, but if you're going to do it, it's so much more helpful and thematic if they're actually kneeling. But again, they've already added in all these different styles, which are based on the artwork that is on the actual card of the guy you can use. I just am going to throw out right here that instead of this mediocre Rotarius here named Lucanus, and then him having a represented chit, I would have preferred if they would have had just like a generic guy or maybe one of the dudes and spent the money instead of multiple different art, although I know it was already on the card. Maybe you could have had a guy kneeling. I don't know, just throwing that out there. But you can see the flavor and how that comes to life. Now let me show you some of the weapons, which normally you won't have unless on the board, unless they get knocked out of your hand, which does happen. Let me show you those. All right, again, I haven't pulled them all out, but so you can have your gladius or your sword knocked out of your hand and it's on the ground. There's a dagger that's kind of like a huge Bowie knife, almost like a machete. It's not the dagger you and I think of, so I'm glad they got the picture. The name of one of the shields, I think that's the largest one, or maybe it's the medium shield, and then the net. Now they have a trident, a broken trident, all the stuff that you would expect in a gladiator game, but I just wanted to show you kind of what they had going on here. All right, here are the 4 gladiator types that come with the game. Let me zoom out just a touch more, because what I'm going to do is show you how each of these are set up. So each one is set up with different heroes. Now I've got them layered as like, this is a novice, maybe even almost, well, they're all kind of slaves. Very novice in their control. Control is if you're in control, and I'll get into these rules in a second, if you're in control, you can kind of push the attack. So you can see their stats and attributes. You've got their movement, their hit points, their strength, their agility, their stamina, their accuracy, intelligence, intimidation, and their fate. Fate get into some cards that I'll show you over here, how many they're going to have. So you have these levels, and the art kind of goes up with them. Love that shield. And you end up with like, this is the best guy. He's got the best control of movement, stamina, and usually the best art. Now on this card, this is the key part here, and then this reflects, depending on where they're hit, what their armor value is. So when you're looking at him, you can see his right shoulder has 0 armor, all right, and his right arm has 4, and you can kind of see how that's covered in there. His chest has 4. Stomach has 2 pieces of armor, the 4 and the 2. So you can kind of see when you attack the back, there's 0 armor. So that's how these guys work. You pick one of these, or you can even make and create your own. They've got them named. This is a secutor, all right, and they've got it, I forget what all the veteranelis, I think it has to be with a tyro, if I remember right, is like a brand new rookie, and then they increase in their skills and ability. So you first will pick one of these or create your own. Now when you're in the game, and I'll show you the other decks in a second, but let me show you why I got these. While you're in the game, if you've got control, you'll be pushing the attack, you'll be selecting one of these attack cards, and they're going to have a strong thrust, or they'll have a quick thrust, or a forward slash, a backward slash, an overhead slash, and each of these is affected differently by what it takes to hit in terms of a modifier, their range, the kind of damage you can do, how much stamina it takes. Are you aiming at the high, middle, or low part of the opposing gladiator? Special rules that come in, criticals that can happen, and fumbles if you're real low. And all of them are very similar in that regard. But this is where you get the flavor of the type of attack you're pushing. And you can't play 2 of the same cards in a row. So I can't do an overhead slash and then attack again after that little round is over and do an overhead slash, unless they've got a little caveat in there, unless it's like your only option. So, and I haven't had that come up, but it keeps me from just overhead slash, overhead slash. It's much more realistic that I would come in and do a forward slash and then I would do a backhand slash. Not only is it, well, it's thematic. I can see it in my head. So you've got the choice to do all these cards. You got a frenzied gladius slash, which has these, anytime you got black, this is one thing that'll slow you down sometimes. You're going to have to read through it because it means there's some special rules. The shield bull rush, okay, it is what it says. Again, there's some special things you'd have to read. A shield blast, it's where you're basically checking them or jamming them with your shield. All right, then you've got the cross between. You could use this as an attack or a defend. Look at this, the shield foot slam. It's a low attack. You pick your angle. In this case, it has to be low. Again, I'll show you some of this on another character basically when I get into these cards up above here. And then here's your defense. So if the player in control is attacking, I'm going to pick a matching defense card. This is where it gets a little convoluted at first because your attack card's played first by your opponent, and then you pick a matching defense card. So in other words, if he picks a strong thrust, I'm not going to leap back. Well, I could leap back. There's one that's like leap up and leap up. So if he attacks at my head, I'm not going to leap up. And you can see it'll tell you when you can use this. If the attacker used a net whip or a low weapon thrust or a low weapon slash, a shield foot slam, a tackle trip, I could leap up. So you've got to pay a little bit of attention, well, a lot of attention to the type of attack. And some cards, although it wouldn't make sense, so you can kind of go with it. You know, if a guy is slashing at your head, you're not going to leap up in the air. But it also tells you in here, you can't use this card against that, just to clear it up if it just didn't make sense. Sometimes that slowed me down as I was learning the game, although this one's obvious, some of them aren't. Dodge right and left is a little bit tricky. You've got to actually be trying to move out of the way, and then you're going to apply the modifiers, and it gets a little bit into the minutia, but all the cards are right here in front of you. But this is the heavy, heavy flavor. If you're on the ground, you can roll right, roll left, so they're basically trying to jam you or stick you while you're on the ground. And again, a lot of that's explained here. You're escaping nets. Well, you're not even going to be using that unless there's someone with a net that's a Rudis that's out there. So you've got all this stuff here, which is what you're going to match off against the guy that's opposing you. Now, all of these are very unique to the type of gladiator that you have. So the Rudis, all right, and if I'm saying it wrong, I completely apologize. But again, you're going to have your basic, your rookie, and then it kind of goes up in value, and you can pick the guy you want. And then his or her attack cards are going to be unique, like here, trident hand thrust. And guess what? The trident's like a spear. It can reach out at a distance of 2 hexes on the range. So you get different feel, a completely different feel for your Rotarius, and he doesn't take as much stamina in order to move around. He's got light armor on. Whereas the heavy tank guy, he doesn't move too well. He can't move too far in his movement, and he gets tired quicker. Same deal, the defenses are different. There was this real cool one that is where you're using your trident to fend off. Yeah, a trident block. And it's going to play a little bit different. Again, black rules mean, hey, read this a little bit closer. You may not be able to use it on certain things. All right, but you're using your dagger, you're using your net for different things, and you're using the mobility of your gladiators. Now you also have like a community deck that anybody can use. These are common things like the kick. It can be used both in attack and defense. A trip. The rest, you've got to rest to get your stamina back. So you want to sometimes create a barrier, break contact, create a barrier, get your, and rest a little bit. Hurl sand in the eyes. I'll talk about this at the end a little bit. My boy wanted to do it. Black means you got to do it in certain circumstances, just to tell you you can't do it while you're standing up. You got to be kneeling or laying on the ground. Attacks of opportunity, and then there's common defenses like, hey, you've been knocked down, you're going to regain your feet. You're going to pick up an object, your sword's been, knocked out of your hand. Now there's some optional stuff. You can get these fate cards. Each of the characters has a number of fate cards they'll get. Basically, these allow you to do certain things like kind of like break the rules cards. So you'd play this in addition to any other action that you take, and then you can see that you'll gain a second wind, and it just does, they allow you to do different things that kind of surprise and bend the rules or break the rules or change things up a little bit. And these are just randomly dealt out based on how much fate that your hero has on his card. And then the last set, and then I'm going to show you the actual arena action deck, which is how the game functions and works, is the Summa Rudis. He was like the referee. So these are going to be, you're going to have these in here, I believe. I'm forgetting. You get one of them and you can play it down, and it's like the ref comes in and interrupts things. All right, the arena action deck. And it's upside down. There's a lot to take in, but just know that at different times you're going to be flipping cards and looking at different sections. This is all like, it may tell you consult a 1 die 4. Well, if I flip this card, I'd have a 1. Or you can see if it was a 1 die 6 and all the way 8, 10, it'd be a horrible 1 die 20 unless you're wanting to get into the range. Oftentimes you're wanting to be in the range. There'll be check armor after damage, so you can get little things on here. And then based on if it was a front, flank, or behind attack, and then if you picked a high, middle, or low. So if you end up hitting, you'll be looking at, okay, you'll flip a brand new card. So you'll do one thing on a card, which I'll show you in a second, and you'll consult the area you're on. But imagine if you've got a successful hit and you attacked high, you're going to flip this card and you're just going to go front high and you're going to say, I hit right shoulder. The reason that matters is you're going to come up on the card and go, okay, right shoulder, he has 1 armor there. So you're going to have to exceed his armor rating. So if you did 2 damage, one's going to get stopped by the armor, and one's going to leak through, and he's going to take a hit point. As easy as that. So, but I'll show you kind of how these cards roll through real quick so you'll get a feel. So the first thing is, there's 2 gladiators fighting here on the board. Let's say one of them is in control and he's just pressed an attack. We've finished that little segment and we're on to the next attack. That gladiator has to do a control check. Now there's some minutia I'm not going to get into on how you determine control. Needless to say, it's listed on your card, and then there's some little balancing elements that are also in the game just to make sure everything stays at least balanced with these cards. But the first thing you do is flip over and check control. Now if my control was a 10, this check has to be that number or lower. And I would be out of control and it would immediately shift. Control would shift to my opponent. Let's say I was a 12. Boom. I'm in control, and I can now move and attack, and I can press the issue. So let's say I'm in control. Boom. We flipped that one. All right, so we're at the stage where there's going to be an attack. The gladiator in control is going to play his Sika strong thrust. So he's going to be thrusting at the defending gladiator. All right, so he plays this down. The defending gladiator gets to then go pick a defense card. He picks the shield block and then a thrust. And there's all kinds of things. So he first has to come in. Oh, and he declares that he's going for the head. He's got to say, you'll see right on his card, it says that he can go high, middle, or low. So in this case, let's just say he picked high. He's thinking, you know, let's get him in the head or get him in the helmet. So this card first, okay, it's a shield block. Yes, it can handle high or middle attacks. Then you're going to look under what to use it versus. So it's versus thrusts and slashes. And since we do have a strong thrust, it's going to be good. And you can see it's going to be an attack modifier of -4 off of this. So this will be, let me just sit here and I'm going to walk you through, because this is, once you get this down, it's fairly easy to work through. But this is, sorry, dog barking. This is where some of the minutiae will get you. So I'll just try to show it quick. So we're going to flip one of these action cards. What we're looking for is right here. Is the defender successful or the attacker? Well, it says the defender is successful. So now we're going to just refer to, on the next flip, to the defender's card. So we got to see what success is. Well, in this case, it varies. So we're going to have to come down and say, well, it varies based on the type of attack. Well, it's a thrust. So we're going to look, and it's very good against this thrust. It's his strength +8. So let's just take one of these rookies and go find his strength. Sorry, his strength. His strength is 5. That's his stamina. His strength is 5 +8. So we come up, he's got 13. So now we got to see, is he successful? We're going to flip a card again, and we're still looking under this area here. Don't worry about the defend. That's not what we're looking at, but we're still on the card check. Oh my gosh, you got a horrible one. All right, so he's got to be the number he was or below. He was an 18. I didn't even pre-set up these cards, but this will be good. So we remember his strength was what? 5, sorry, plus the 8. That's where I got it. He's at 13. So this means now his defense, which he had the shot to do, it failed. Now here's an interesting thing on this. One of the two is going to happen. So even though the defense card was the one that was pulled down here, he failed, which means the inverse happens. So we're back to this attack being successful. This is how the battle is pushed forward, and it really keeps the energy up. So it's not just like, oh, his attack, his defense worked, but nothing else really happens. No. The defend card had the best chance of succeeding, but now he has failed based on this number. So we are back to this having happened, and we're going to now see what the damage is. So we come in, and the damage is going to be a 1d6. So it's as if the hit has happened, and now we're going to check and do 1d6. So we come in, and now we're simply looking down in the random area. 1d6, wow, he got a 6. So it's like a heck of a good die roll. So he's got 1d6, and now we're going to get into, there's some special stuff. So on a damage of 4+, you may substitute an option below. So we can come in and do some of these, make a new 1d6 damage check. You can trade damage for X on your next control check. That might allow you to stay in control and push this stuff, to push the battle. Trade 2 damage for immediate 2 hex movement. That might allow you to get around and get a flank or get in behind. Trade all damage for a 1 -6 chance on a 1d20 for a major organ damage. If successful, see a critical. These cards will also have criticals that are down in here. That's if you would have gotten like a d20 on this when you flipped. If you were to get a 1, it ends up being a fumble, or a 20, it ends up being a critical, or it'll tell you what the criticals could be. When you get a critical, then you flip another card. Yes, there's a lot of card flipping of these, and then you're going to check and see what happens in this area. Or if you got a fumble, then you're going to just do what it says in the fumble. So everything is pushing forward on this. So if he did 6 damage, all right, he's going to say, okay, I did 6 damage, boom. Let's just say he takes the damage, doesn't do any of this stuff. I just want to explain what it is on the card. He's going to do the damage. Now remember, he aimed high, so we're going to flip yet another one of these cards, and we're going to see what happens in the front high portion. He struck the left shoulder of this guy. So we got to come in. Am I on the right guy? Yes, I am. We got to come in and check the left shoulder has 2 armor. This is the chance if he had layered armor. He does not. So 2 of that 6 damage is absorbed, but now he's taken 4 damage to his hit points and he would be lowered to 10. That is how these work. They work very well, especially in conjunction with you picking your type of attack. Picking your type of attack is where you get your control, and your randomizers as you just continually flip through and check the area. Boom. I will say, I don't use this board. There's areas on here. You can print out some worksheets, and then this is here for you to track your hit points and your stamina. I did that in the very first game I played. I didn't like it. It felt fiddly. After that, I just pulled out a piece of paper and a pen, and me and my opponent would just track our stamina and our hit points. It felt faster. I felt like I could read things at a glance a lot better, and I would encourage the use of the pencil and paper, or pen and paper, to track your hit points and your stamina as you're moving through. Other than that, I mean, you know, it's a good option to have on there. The idea is, hey, you can see it, but we just kept that knowledge. It was open, it was public, and I thought it worked much better with the paper. But final thoughts. All right, we're back. First, I just threw this troll in there. It's usually sitting on my bar. When I was unboxing all the games, guess what was in there? My Fort Leonard Wood basic training troll. I can't remember. I think the folks got that for me. Trolls were big then. All right, so Gladiator. Before I show you this, let me get my phone out of the way. It is designed, James Trunzo, I think I'm saying it right. James Trunzo also did this. Boom, and he used the card system in this, very similar to what you've seen here. So we had boxing. All right, he brought that out, I think it was 1978. So this is nice, and you're going to get a feeling of the throwback of some of the Roman games. Hello, but there's no chariots, because what was originally going to be in this, that Avalon Hill broke into its own game, was that, baby. Now, I will say one thing. The art here speaks to you. The arts here is not bad, but gosh darn it, that got my interest when I was a kid. Up close, in your face, battle and action. So, although clean design, and the card's a clean design, we'll get into that. I wish there would have been some of that on there, because my son, until we started playing, was like, and then he kept thinking he was playing this. This did kind of program movement. This, no. Hello, sorry, boop. Just got the box lid. All right, let me weight it. Boom. All right. Card flipping. No dice, card flipping. Excellent, with the addition of the attack and defense cards that you're playing. That sets the tone for control. Title Bout didn't quite have that feel. Great game, use that card system, but having that attacker, the one that's in control, having the attack, and the defender putting up their matching defense card, although sometimes cumbersome, you know, hey, this only works against that, or, well, is this better against a thrust, or is this better if it's a slash? Okay, so there's a little bit of wind down in there, but there's not so many options that you'll get too caught up in it. But when you're new, it's a little bit unwieldy. However, those choices, and then the card flip that decides, hey, attacker or defender, and then you flip another card for the D20 number right below that attack defend, and if it was the attacker, and then the defender or the attack fails, boom, it flips over to the defender's action taking place. That is key. Stops the, well, not so, it actually keeps the action flowing and roaring, and hey, your thing, you hit, hey, my card's gonna hit, oh, I failed, boom, it reverts to the defense card, and now we got to see what happens with his deal, and he has to be successful. All right, so you get these visual moments. I mean, my boy was replaying where I did a downward slash, aimed only at the head, because that, or head high, medium, low, He plays a defense card that's going to sword block the slash and then try to bash with the shield. He's like, oh, and he runs off and comes back with his Nerf sword and this like cardboard paper shield he has. And so the first part is flip the card, and does he, what happens? Oh, he actually blocks the slash, so his sword comes in. But now we got to see, boom, does his shield bash work? The stamina's coming off. He's visualizing this. Then he's successful, and he turns that into a I can't even remember what it's called, but it's like a shield rush or something, where he just rushes, or bull rush with the shield. Very, very thematic. Knocking my guy back, has all these options for, control or damage or whatever. I mean, that is the thematic part and the card flipping. Very well captured. It's a simulation without taking the fun out of it. I've played simulations where I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel like I'm a warplane, and it's attacking, but then now I'm kind of bored because I know in real life, probably not as much happened. Take B-17. When you play B-17 Queen of the Skies, I know it's an old Avalon Hill game. I used to run into guys who go, oh, it's a simulation, but none of that would happen to a single bomber. Probably not, but it could. So they kept the Hollywoodish flavor in, yet it had elements of the simulation. Perfect. I believe that's what's done here. It feels like Gladiators. There's the choices of the actions they take. A Rotarius and his trident being able to reach out and how he can defend with that. And then he's working the net. The heavy tanked guy that can't see as well, but his armor's so good. You hit him, but hey, you didn't do any damage. That feels in there. But then it still has a little bit of that Gladiator movie or Spartacus kind of feel to it that's going on. That's the sweet spot. Now, the rule book, cumbersome. First of all, the pages in the rule book, there's a lot of extra bonus stuff in there. About half of that rule book, which I've already showed in the close-up, is all you need to learn the game. A huge amount is for the solo experience. The other thing I'm going to nitpick on, well, let me stay on the rules for a second. I do believe that a little bit better graphic representation of how those cards work would have been better. There's the play walkthroughs, fine, but I like the visual with the written in there so I can see it. Show a card reimposed on the page. Hey, you flip this, highlighting where you're reading. Boom, you flip this, highlighting where you're reading. Here's the attack card that was played, highlighting the key part. Well, here's what happened though. The defense card won, highlighting that defense card. Show that walking through right down to here's the Gladiator. You now flip a card looking at here on a D20, and that number is going to correspond to this. And then you're going to look on the card because there's a lot of, now flip a card and look over here. Now flip a card and look over here. Now look at your Gladiator card because you have damage. Where did it hit? Oh, it hit the damage there. Oh, but he has a shield there. All right. It was there. It was there. But a graphical representation, I think, would have had me up and playing in an hour. And instead, I kind of read it through, reread it, and then I pulled it out, played around just with the attacking. Then I got into the movement a little bit. And that's it. Just give me some more graphics on there. Would have made it, I know it might have upped the page count, but it would have made learning it so much simpler. So that's on that. Now on the board, there's a few charts and graphs. You don't need many. But like some of the facing bonuses and different things, or some of the little rules that you're going to reference, throw those on the board. I know sometimes it makes the board look ugly, but a few of those key ones on the board would have meant that I didn't have to reference back into the book. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of that on there. Maybe it messed up the graphic representation. So, I mean, the board looks great, so nothing off of the board. But that's my only other suggestion. Other than that, really, really enjoyed this. This blows away this. All right, I broke this Gladiator game out, the original Avalon Hill, probably 3 years ago. Now, guys still remember it. I had a bunch of guys over, and we did a massive fight, kind of a free-for-all, and I layered in some a little bit of like kind of light role-playing stuff in there, and guys still remember that. But this does that gladiator fight better. The choice that you have with the cards and then who's in control, being able to push the fight and the stamina that comes in, yet your card, your actual gladiator card, holding all those agility, stamina, control, strength stats, and how the different cards will say, hey, this attack, you're looking at the agility. This was an agility move. This is a brute strength move. Very well represented. I mean, very, very well represented. You could see the work that went into this. One last negative, and I shouldn't end on the negative, but every once in a while a card would lose me in the card, or I would see further in the minutia, or it was highlighted in black that, hey, you can only do this then. Not a big deal. Like my boy wanted to throw sand in my face like early on, and I hadn't even used that card. He just saw it, and I went and looked. I'm like, okay, you got to be kneeling or on the ground to do this. Makes sense. You're already on the ground. You need a chance to get up. Distraction technique. Boom. I've thrown sand in your face. It makes total thematic sense. But it was weird because he's like, yeah, I'm doing this, and he's starting to get fired up. I'm like, let me look at the card, let me look at it, and you can't do it. So, and once I explained to him, he was like, cool, okay, I got it. And then I'm like, hey, you don't want to fall down or be on your knees. So ideally, don't get into that situation. But it was nice in there, but there's a bit of a learning or a feeling curve, and once you get it down though, then that steam engine's moving, baby, moving. All right, Chief, bonding with board games, Gladiator, Quest for the Rudis, and Mr. James Trunzo. Good to have you back, sir. Good to have you back.